by Section 8 of the Code of Conduct laid out in the student handbook. In this case, however, ignorance may be of the law may be your excuse, as we are feeling lenient. And the paperwork required to punish both of you would only add to the already mountainous volume of work which confronts us. So the sole members of the student council, and besides, you two are adorable together. Therefore, consider this a formal warning, and please refrain from such displays in the future. At least when Suzune and I can see you, Hick-chan. The whole spiel is so patiently ridiculous that I can't help but reply in the same pompous manner. Well, I for one feel enlightened. I apologize profusely for my rash actions and will strive to contain my baser impulses, which I fear impel me toward such inappropriate displays of public affection. It is hardly my wish to burden an already overworked student council with such petty manners, and I will do my best to make your lives easier in this matter in the future. At least when Shizune is watching. This last line is delivered with a wink to Misha, who finally loses control of her laughter. Well said, Hick-chan. Chuckling a little to myself, we enter the classroom. Class is uneventful, and after the final bell rings, I find myself alone with Moto again. So it looks like we've all assembled for the second meeting of the science club? Or is it the first? What do you think? Should we count yesterday as a meeting? Well, we did form the club yesterday, didn't we? That seems like a club business, so we can safely call yesterday a meeting. Muto smiles in his usual slitted and awkward way. I wonder if the muscles in his face are just not shaped correctly to let him smile naturally. You really have a knack for this, I think. Logical thought process, that's it. I guess so. A scientist speaks with authority, Asayo. Your answer here is, yes, I do. When the world wants to know how it works, we tell it, even if all we've got is a decent hypothesis. But we must sound certain anyway, because we're the authorities on the subject, right? He chuckles to go along with his awkward smile at his awkward joke. I'm doing my best not to grimace, but I don't think I'm being too successful. That's entirely false, of course. We know a lot, sure, but nobody's an expert on how the world works, if only because nobody can be sure. With no certainty, there are no experts. But we like to pretend sometimes. There's some things we can be certain of, right? Yes, but no. We know gravity's there, for example. To illustrate, Moto picks up a pencil and drops it. See? Still there. But it's good to check every once in a while. That's why you'll still see researchers mucking up with gravity. We're pretty sure we know how it works, but there's always a chance that something isn't how we think it is. So you check and check and check. That's science in a nutshell, Asayo. The whole time I've been listening, this whole time I've listened feeling rather spellbound. Muto seems to be really passionate about this stuff, I think. It's hard to tell sometimes. How the world works. How humans work. How the universe works. All these questions to be answered. And depending on what I get into, maybe I could even figure out a way to fix my heart. That said, I don't think that's a real priority for me. Besides, as we start discussing the book he gave me yesterday, I find myself more and more interested in that than my heart condition. Before we even realize it, an hour's gone by. Well, let's call this meeting over for now, okay? We have another meeting tomorrow, or the day after. He considers this for a moment. Call it the day after. I've got a lot of grading to do. Okay, see you then. As I exit the classroom, I realize that I don't really have anything to do tonight. Emmy and I didn't make plans, so I guess I'll go to the library. It beats doing my homework in my room anyway. The library always seems cooler than the rest of the building. Probably to keep the books from getting damaged by excessive heat and humidity. Books are sturdy objects, but if you want to keep them in good condition, it takes a little effort. I've got several books that are so well worn the pages are barely clinging to the spine. It seems impossible for them to still be usable, but if you handle them with care. I make my way to the main desk where I spot Yuko busying herself with something or another. She smiles at me as I enter and waves. Hello, Hasayo. Good to see you again. What are you looking for this time? Nothing in particular, I guess. I just didn't really feel like going back to my room, is all. Yuko nods. Well, if you're unoccupied, maybe you could help me look for something. Sure, what do you need? Yuko brings a finger to her lips and looks around furtively. She seems to be looking for eavesdroppers. Come closer. I take a few hesitant steps towards forward while feeling distinctly unnerved. Yuko lowers her voice in a confident whisper. I'm on the trail of the Yakumu cat burglar. The what? Shh! The walls have ears, Sasayo. Or they might. But listen, those missing books, remember them? Yeah? Well, they weren't missing. They were stolen. I'm convinced of it. I remember you saying something of the sort earlier, but how do you know? Yuko leans in closer and, if possible, whispers even lower. Because I found one of his hiding places. You did what? Yuko looks triumphant. Found one of his stashes. It was under one of the stairwells in the boys' dorm. 3 books I've been looking for, all there. I suspected a thief before, but this proves it. So did you take back the books? Yuko looks like she just staggered, suggested that she walk around naked. Are you nuts? He can't know I'm onto him. He might go around and evade capture. Uh-huh. So what do you need my help with? Yugo casts another glance around the library and leans in closer. You've got to spy for me. Spy? Yeah, like when you're in the dorms, you know? Keep an eye out for suspicious activity. What constitutes suspicious anyway? I mean, Kenji's a pretty suspicious dude, but I'll wager he barely goes to class, much less sneaks into the library to pilfer books. But he does! We saw the book in his hands earlier! Way to pay attention, Cluedart! Still, what's the harm in saying yes? At least it'll get me out of this weird conversation. Yeah, I can do that, no problem. Yuko straightens up and claps excitedly. Great! Now, hurry up and talk about something else in case someone comes in. How's school treating you? Pretty well, actually. I've been running in the mornings with... Emmy Bazarki, right? Yeah. How'd you know? I served you 2 in the tea house, remember? I deduced that if you're going to run with anyone, it would probably be her. She looks pleased with herself. Impressive. Anyway, yes, we've been running in the mornings. And, we kinda started dating. Yuko claps her hands together excitedly. Really? That's great! I bet you 2 are great together. I love seeing people find one another like that, you know? I even thought to myself when you walked into the Shanghai that one time, I wonder if that kid will wind up with one of those girls. Really? Yuko doesn't seem to notice my somewhat weirded out tone and nods affirmatively. Yup, I could tell that you'd wind up with one of them, you know? I've got an eye for that sort of thing. Of course, her expression droops slightly. I'm not so good at it myself. Aw, I'm sure that's not true. Oh, it's true. I met this guy once. We got along really great, but it turned out he was younger than me. And it was kinda weird, but not terribly so. What was really weird was that he disappeared one day, and I've not seen him since then. Huh, that does seem kind of odd. Doesn't it? I hope it wasn't something I did, or my 20 cats. I feel compelled to reassure her. I'm sure it wasn't. I intend to try and calm her down further, but both of us jump in surprise at the ringing suddenly coming from my pocket. Yuko sighs to steady herself, and I pull the phone from my pocket. I feel a little sheepish for indirectly causing the incident. Emmy, what's up? Oh, thank God! I haven't called your phone before, so I didn't know if this number would work, or whether you would pick up, and I can't... Whoa, Emmy, slow down. What's wrong? There's a pause on the other side of the line, which I can hear Emmy trying to control her breathing in order to calm down. Something's got her terribly agitated, and it's starting to agitate me. Can you just. Can you stop by? Like now, or shortly after now? I really, really need to talk to you. There's a tone of pleading in the last sentence that I don't think I've ever heard from her. Of course, I'll be right there. Hold steady, okay? In my increasingly agitated state, I've apparently started saying things that don't quite make sense. Okay, I'll be okay. See you soon. I pressed the button to end the call before slipping the phone back into my pocket, apologized to Yuko for running off, and run off. Perhaps at some point I would have stopped to think about the time or how suspicious it looks for a guy to enter the girl's dorm at this hour. Except right now, I'm just concerned with Emmy and finding out what's wrong and how I can help her. I knock on the door and greeted with the subdued, "Come in." Something is very wrong as I stare at the scene before me. Emmy's there, yes, but she's in a wheelchair, and her legs are missing. I glance around the room and see them sitting in a corner, looking like they've been thrown there. Emmy responds to my entrance with a lopsided grin that is both pleased to see me and completely, utterly heartbroken. "Hi, Hasayo." It looks like she's been crying, but if she was, she stopped now. I notice that I'm a little out of breath, having taken the stairs 2 at a time in order to get there. My heart doesn't seem to mind the strain, though. I file this happy fact away for later consideration, like when I'm not staring somewhat dumbstruck at my girlfriend in a wheelchair. Realizing I've still not responded to her greeting, my brain lurches into gear. "Emmy, what happened?" "Guess I should have listened to you, Hasayo. My leg's gotten a nasty infection. I'm not allowed to run on it for at least a couple of weeks." She gives a bitter laugh that shouldn't be coming from her. "Heh, I can't even walk on it. I could have used a crutch and kept one of my legs, but I didn't see the point. Why hop? You can't run on one leg. At least this way I can still, I don't know, roll fast or something." Yeah, that sounds good, right? My awkward attempt to look on the bright side seems appreciated, but not really effective. Emmy shrugs again. "It's just kind of a nuisance. I mean, we can't even eat up on the roof now. No wheelchair access." "Yeah, but it's not that big a deal, right? I mean, we can still eat together, and that's the whole important thing." That lopsided grin again. It hurts to look at it. "I suppose so, yeah. But like I said, it's a nuisance. I mean, I haven't really used a wheelchair in..." She thinks for a minute. "Maybe 7 years? Something like that anyway. A long time. I'm afraid I'm a bit out of practice." "Well, fortunately it's only temporary, right?" Emmy nods. "Oh yeah, of course. It's not like I've lost him permanently. But it is a pain in the ass, it's all the same." I nod sympathetically. There's not much else I can do after all. What am I going to say? I told you so? Although I did tell her to get that leg looked at. But by the time I noticed, it was too late anyway. "Do you need help with anything? Or, that is, can I help with anything?" Emmy shakes her head, and there's a bit of her usual grin back.